Coming up on this Finding Truth Prophetic Network interview.
And just like in relationship, that you want to prioritize the time with that person to get to know them.
Maybe not fully in opposition to God, but they're just some other place that we set our eyes on. Hi, everyone. It's Krista Dunk here at Finding Truth Prophetic Network. And are you someone who wants to hear from the Lord? Are you someone who has wanted to have the Lord speak to you in ways that you can easily recognize? Or maybe you already are hearing the Lord speaking to you. But that's our topic today. And I have my friend here with me, Summer Kim Davis, and she has a new book that I was privileged to help her produce. And it's called Hearing God for Real. And I love it. And so we're going to talk about this. Welcome, Summer.
Hi, everyone.
Great to have you here. And I really think this topic is great for Finding Truth Prophetic Network because there are a lot of people out there who really do want to know what the Lord is saying. And we can kind of know what the Lord is saying in a general sense for kind of just generally people, but we also, I think each one of us has a heart to hear what he's saying to us specifically. And we want to be able to hear his voice. And so, Summer, if you would, I would love it if you could just share for just a few minutes about your experience with learning how to hear God for yourself and some of your past experiences with that.
Yeah, I don't know where to begin. It's a long story, but I didn't grow up in church. I grew up in a Buddhism culture of ancestral worship culture, and my mom, I think she worshipped some kind of idol. My uncle was palm reader, so I have no contacts with church and all of that. But I was always drawn to church, and I have some neighbors who's going to church, and they have like invited children in the neighborhood, and I don't know. I remember like I follow some of them and just go there for snacks or whatever. But I I really liked that for some reason I felt a sense of home there, even long before I was saved. So fast forward, I got radically saved when I was in college, and then I was on fire for God for a couple of years, but distraction came, and then I moved around, and career ambitions, and you name it. Just, I got distracted and pulled away until 2019, and I heard God audibly for the first time. Where did I hear God audibly? In the shower. And I later on found out, I thought that was kind of odd, but later on I found out that I'm not the only one heard God for the first time in the odd places and moments. So my journey really started in 2019. I have deeper desire to hear from God, and so yeah, and I that's in a nutshell. That's my journey, and today I'm just really wanting to share what I learned in my journey
Yes.
to help other people
I'm
hear from
so
God.
glad. Yes, I'm so glad that you are willing to share with us today. And I don't know if you feel like for myself, I was someone who kind of grew up in church and then I was away. I was out of church for about 10 years. And then I came back. And I remember when I came back as I was probably like 22 years old-ish. And I felt like I would hear people say, oh, I heard the Lord say, or God showed me this, or God said this, or like all these things like that. And I would feel really frustrated. And I would think, what the heck? Why isn't God talking to me? Why don't I hear God saying things? What is this? And so um, I really wanted to hear the Lord saying things to me. And so did you ever have a phase where you felt like that, or you felt like, well, God just doesn't talk to me, or what was that like for you?
Yeah, I mean, not growing up in church, and I thought that when maybe that's why I don't know how to hear from God. But I felt the God's calling when I was younger, but for me, it's more of I wasn't ready to surrender completely. For some reason, deep inside, I knew hearing from God meant you can have to give up on things that I wasn't ready to give up on, and that I just knew that there was a cost involved. And so it was like subconscious. Subconsciously I knew about it. And now looking back, that now I know that's what it was. But at the time I was making excuses that, oh yeah, well, it's only like pastors or prophets can hear from who hears God. And I just kind of like just put that in the different category. Well, I'm a good person. I go to church and I know a couple Bible verses and I'm a good Christian. I just kind of like in a way brainwashed myself I was a good Christian. And I didn't have to hear from God. So then I didn't have to sacrifice as much.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so true. And you've said a couple of things there I think that are super interesting. Like you kind of put the hearing God category of people was this certain group of people, and you were not in that group. But also, you knew if you did hear from God, He might ask you to do some things or sacrifice, or just like it was, you were a little worried about what He might say.
Hmm. Yeah, it was very dysfunctional way of like diffusing to owning up to my ability to hear from God and just I didn't know the benefit of hearing from God because the example that I had when I first got saved wasn't that good.
Mm.
Many people who heard from God looked like their life wasn't really good representative of what I wanted to become. So I didn't really have a good example of people who heard from God. That's the people that I want to become. I didn't have motivation. I wasn't motivated to become that person who hears from God.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. That's interesting. So interesting. All of our
Yeah.
different journeys with this. And so, but you have discovered that we can hear from God. And I discovered that for myself too, that God was actually speaking to me. I just wasn't recognizing it. And so, okay, let's take a really quick break. And then when we come back, I want to ask you about some different ways that you mentioned in your book that we do hear from God and we can hear from God. So, okay, we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. We're here talking with Summer Kim Davis, and she has amazing information to share with us about how God does and is speaking to us. And so, Summer, would you share a few things that you've written about in your book that will help people understand how we can and probably already are hearing from the Lord, whether we recognize or realize it or not?
That is exactly right. They probably don't recognize they're hearing from God. And my passion for this book is really, I want to encourage, you know, people. God speaks to everyone, including non-Christians. It's just they don't recognize God's voice. And it just breaks my heart that Christians thinking the same way, we believe in God, but we just don't believe and recognize God's voice. And it just, God speaks to us, but hearing God is a skill, just like learning language. And there are some misconceptions and glamour around hearing from God. And my mission is to demystify the process, tuning into God's voice. So, first step is really embrace the fact that you are hearing from God. Is that simple? And you just have to believe that you are hearing from God and ask God for a desire. And God gives us desire and power to accomplish his will. Is it Philippians 2:13, I believe? And when I wrote this book, God gave me this Bible verse, Revelation 2:7. Whoever has ear, let them hear. The Spirit says to churches, to the one who is victorious, I will give the right to eat from the tree of life, which is the paradise of God. So whoever has ear, let them hear. So that's kind of like my mantra for writing this book. Um, I actually wrote this book in like 2, 3 weeks time span, but I was just sitting on it for 9 months. That's it. Just you just have to believe you are hearing from God. That's it.
So that's like step one. And I like how
Step
you said to
one.
me, you can practice, like you can practice learning to hear him, just like you would learn anything else that in life that's valuable and important and that you need to know. It just takes some practice. And so step one is understand that you really are hearing from him. You just need to learn how to recognize that. So what are some ways that he does speak to us? Like in your book, I love how you said sometimes he can speak to us through music. He speaks to us through the Bible. And yeah, just talk about that for a couple minutes.
Yeah. So, I share practical applications in my book because, I'm a very practical person. So, like I didn't resonate with people who heard from God all in my Christian journey is because they just make it sound like not relatable. I couldn't relate to them. And so my, really goal in this book is just sharing practical applications, just like how God speaks to us every day. He speaks to you right now. And when you're walking your dog and you go to grocery, just everyday mundane life. And I think the prominent way God speaks to us through his words, right? A lot of times that even though we're Christians, we don't really read Bible every day. I didn't. I was Christian for almost 2 decades, but I didn't really like set aside every day reading his words. Actually, it didn't came to me like live and just it wasn't really real to me. Like it was a struggle to read Bible every day, but that's how God speak to us. And I think what really helped me when I first started hearing God was setting aside every day. And God gave you desire to read the words every day, but set aside 5 minutes, just making that as a habit, and then your desire increases. So, what of God is, you know, very prominent way God speaks to us, and then music and the nature. When you go to like vacation, you feel like you are connected to God, and you go to beach and you go to mountain. God speaks to us in that way, and then also God speaks through us dreams and visions, and sometimes God speaks to you audibly, but those are not like that. That's common, but God speaks to us so many different ways.
I think so too. I've also learned that, and I'm looking at your book's table of contents here, and I love how you say that music and his word through internal peace and knowing, through convictions, through natural things, through supernatural revelations, through prayers, like dreams and visions, like you mentioned. So many ways that we can learn to recognize how he is speaking. And so, okay, let's take another quick break. And after that, I would love to just get your thoughts on if somebody's thinking, okay, yes, I want to learn to recognize how he's speaking to me. Let's talk about where you suggest somebody begins. So we'll be right back.
Has God called you to be his scribe? Do you carry messages from God's heart that are meant to be shared through writing? The International Prophetic Writers Association is an online community where prophetic writers can find author training, support, encouragement, confidence, and vision for their kingdom assignment. So if you're called to write and make a meaningful difference in the lives of others, learn more now at internationalpwa.com.
It's Krista Duck with Summer Kim Davis, and you're listening into this discussion on thoughts from Summer about how to hear God, about her, regarding her new book, Hearing God for Real. And so, as we're coming close to the end here, Summer, I'd love it if you can just share a thought about if somebody's like, yes, I want to learn, I want to start to recognize, I want to understand how I can hear God for myself. Where do you suggest they start? How can they begin to do that in this journey?
I would say besides reading, setting aside time for reading, Word of God every day, Bible verse or something. If you want have a Bible reading plan, you can do that. But I would suggest to set aside certain time, whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever you could designate that time every day in a specific location and time that you commit to it. And so um, then you can start with reading Bible verse for the day or daily devotion book or anything that you want. You can customize it. But main thing is spending time with God and then ask God and sit on the silence and wait for God to speak to you. Because a lot of times that we just want to pray, pray, pray and talk, 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 but we never really take time to sit and wait for God to speak to us, right? So that's what I would suggest if anybody wants to start somewhere. That's the first step because you kind of want to get to know God. And just like in relationship, that you want to prioritize the time with that person to get to know them. If you really want to get to know somebody, you'll make time for them, right? So
That's true. Making time for God in your schedule every day and just I feel like he would honor that too. I feel like he would see a person's heart that, sits down and says, God, I want to hear from you. I want to spend time with you. I want to get to know you. I want to hear your voice. I want to hear what you have to say. I feel like he would definitely appreciate that and he would honor that heart of a person. So, yes, sit down,
and
get to know him.
yeah, I think a lot of times that we make it more complicated. That's the thing.
True.
We make it complicated where, oh, and then something else happened in the morning. I'm like, oh, I forgot this work email. And then you just kind of getting distracted. And speaking of distraction, there's a lot of hindrance, of, for hearing from God because distraction is number one. And then, there's many other hindrance that I pointed out in my book. And another main reason that we are having hard time hearing from God is also how we grew up, the mindset of the world. For me, I was in the world of business, so my mindset, word viewpoint was huge hindrance for me because the wisdom of the world is usually like it's a lot of wisdom in the world is actually borrowed from God's principle, but then there's a lot of twist to it. So sometimes it doesn't make sense, but from what we are used to in the world's wisdom. So there's so many other reasons that is, it's kind of, having us kind of get stuck in that. But yeah.
Distractions and mindsets and things that are maybe not fully in opposition to God, but they're just some other place that we set our eyes on and our thoughts on. And we can get to know his voice among all the other voices that go on in daily life and try to get our attention all the time. So, yeah, so good. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, question for you. Where can people get a copy of your book if they are interested in hearing God for real?
Yeah, it's on Amazon and you can get my book there. And then I would love you to follow me on my Instagram, Summer Kim Design, and on my LinkedIn, Summer Kim Davis. And I would love to stay in touch with you.
Yes, wonderful. Okay, so visit Summer, find her on Instagram, find her book, Hearing God for Real, on Amazon, and that is in print and Kindle. And yes, I love it. It's an easy read. It's very practical, very understandable. Doesn't have a lot of fluff or strange theories that are hard to understand. I feel like anyone can read this book and really get some great thoughts about how we hear God, why we would want to, the hindrances, how to discern his voice, between all the other voices in the world. So yes, so thank you, Summer, for being on today. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, you are welcome. Okay. Well, thanks for watching this segment today. I hope you have new information and new encouragement that actually God is talking to you. And you just need to learn how to recognize to hear him. And you can do that. And you can start, as Summer said, by just taking some time each day, setting that aside with the Lord, spending with him. And you will start to hear what he has to say. You might even see what he has to say in pictures and things that he may show you. You'll be well on your way. So, all right, blessings to you all. Remember to subscribe to our channel here at Finding Truth Prophetic Network. We'll see you next time on our next interesting and inspirational and encouraging video here. Blessings to you all, and bye for now.
Thank you for watching the Finding Truth Prophetic Network. Want to support the kingdom work we're doing here at FTPN? A great way to support us is by simply subscribing to our channel. Click the subscribe button now, and thank you for watching.